the best is going to be breaking this information down. This gentleman is a Duke graduate. He has 2 degrees, mathematical and electrical engineering. He's a father. Listen, you guys know him well. Mr. Richard Harden, just want to know, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's get it. Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
Awesome. Well, William, thank you so much for hosting, but not just for hosting today. Like, I don't think people understand the amount of work that you're willing to do behind the scenes to help people succeed in a lot of ways, not getting the credit for what you've done, but more importantly, for what's about to happen. So as I jump into this training, if you're taking notes, I'm going to do 2 parts. I'm going to do a quick start because it's Financial Literacy Month. So I'm going to do a quick start. For those of you that are joining as guests for the first time and are asking yourself, okay, I heard a lot of information. How does all that work? How do we put it together in a system? So first thing I'm going to talk about is how to maximize the membership. And then the second thing I'll talk about is what my expertise is actually helping you create new cash flow and make money with this vehicle, even if you've not had success in network marketing before, because I'll make the assumption that this is not your first rodeo. And if it is, you picked the right one the first time. Does that make sense? Absolutely. So first step, let's make sure that when you get started, understand that the name of this game is cash flow. Our goal in this business is to create cash flow. Now, what is cash flow? Well, ironically, cash flow is that time measurement. It's how long the money that you make stays with you. And our membership is actually designed to do that in 3 very cool ways. Now, I point that out up front because when I saw the business, it resonated with me, because when I started my journey down the path of financial literacy, one of my first mentors from afar was Robert Kiyosaki. Anybody familiar with Robert Kiyosaki? Author of the books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the Cash Flow Quadrant, The Business for People Who Like Helping People, Retire Young and Rich, all of these books in a series of thoughts. In one of his best books, most people don't even know about it. It's called The Unfair Advantage of a Financial Education. It's called The Unfair Advantage. But in the book, he breaks down why people with a financial education have an advantage over people with a formal education. Does that make sense? And one of the things that I embrace and love about this business is it meets you where you are. See, we didn't get a chance to get deeply introduced before I started training, but if you are an employee, this business can help you increase your cash flow. If you're a business owner, this business can help you increase your cash flow. If you are already someone who is an investor, this business may very well work out to be the best investment to increase your cash flow because of the way it attacks life from wherever you right now are. And one of Robert Kiyosaki's second book, not as well known, but equally powerful, is the Cash Flow Quadrant. How many of you read the book?
Haven't read that one.
Okay, so this business, if you think about, he says that there are 4 categories of income experiences in America. He labels it the cash flow quadrant. It's the E quadrant, the B, the S quadrant, the B and the I. E stands for employee, S is for self-employed, B is for business owner that owns a business system, and I stands for investor. The challenge with traditional America is that most of our income strategies, what we're taught to aspire to, put us in the left quadrant, either an employee or self-employed. Am I making sense? Meaning you've got a job and that job is your only source of income. 100% times 1 is your income. There's no leverage as an employee. Or if you're really good at something, they teach you, become a doctor or a lawyer, or if you're good at lawn care or restaurant cooking, you start a restaurant so that you're now self-employed. Now, here's a challenge. As a person, there's only so much that you can do. There's either no or minimal leverage. How many of you met somebody that owns a business, but it seems like the business owns them?
Right.
Well, matter of fact, let me take it closer to home. Our dad started an oil company. So if you ever hear of Metro Petroleum, When I was 8 years old, my dad started an oil company as a jobber. He was a redistributor for Valero, Exxon, Shell, all of the major oil companies. He delivered fuel to any small fleet. So the cable company, City of Atlanta, the fire departments, every rental car company at the airport, they were our customers in business. Yes. And when those invoices got paid, you see some amazing checks come through the Harden household. Here's a challenge in business. What he taught us, he said, well, Rick, most of your friends, families don't go to a job and they work from 9 to 5. When you're in business, you work from 5 to 9. And he meant 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Challenge with most entrepreneurs that are out there going to get it, and they're the only one going to get it. When they can't go get it, it can't get got. To the point where when 2008 hit the stock market and that one source of income that was the family business had to go, it was still 3 years later. If my dad was startled awake, he would answer the phone, Metro. He didn't have leverage. Does that make sense? So Chuck and I, watching that process, said, what can we do to be in business? Because here's the thing Daddy did have. Daddy always had some money. He always had investments, and he always had something going. How can we be in business where we own a business, but the business does not own us? In that process, we got introduced to the idea of business systems. This is where the MWR business fits, by the way. When you make an investment in MWR, it's like a franchise, except we're franchising through people. Does that make sense? Yeah. Meaning now with the business system. Well, what's the business system? Well, MWR provides a website with a system, marketing tools, and they do the accounting and they pay us. That makes sense? So all we have to do is educate, but as we educate, we're able to grow a network of people with two-way incentive. See, the most ethical way for people to make money, because that's the only thing there is people that work and money at work, yes?
Yes.
But here's the challenge with most people. The most relationships that people have with their employers is they are leveraged to someone else. In my day job with Microsoft, they pay me good money. Everybody say good money.
Good money.
Good money. But they also want to make good money from my efforts. Last year, I made them close to $3 million. I got paid less than 10% of that. You with me?
Yes.
Leverage goes to the business owner. This is the only model in the world where a person that's in business and a new person have the same thing to gain. As a matter of fact, when you're brand new, it's my goal to make you $300 on your $249 investment. I'm going to be upfront clear. I want to get you paid so that you have a return on investment and you have a residual income before the bill comes due again. Does that make sense? Because yes. A paid for business never has to go out of business. Now, here's what we encourage in our network and in our movement is that everybody moves to the right side of the quadrant so that when you start making money from this business, it's not to support lifestyle. Let's start looking at intelligent investments to grow that money, because that's the ultimate leverage. When you've got money at work and people at work, you've got portfolio income and passive income. That's when you can be free to be who you are. Does that make sense? So when you get started, you text a person that invited you to the Zoom tonight, they're going to send you a link to set up your distributor site. When you get started on your website, you'll have access to our system. Here's what I let people know up front. I want you to start, share, and stay. That was our logo. Our motto, when we started as the Extra Digit Movement with MWR Financial, we said start, share, and stay. Everybody say start, share, and stay. Matter of fact, put that in the chat so this can be interactive. Start, share, and stay. Start, share, and stay. What do I have to start? I got to start using the membership myself so that I know what I'm inviting people to see, right? It's one thing for you to hear my testimony, but it's a whole different thing for your paycheck from your job to go up. Does that make sense? I mean, it's one thing for me to talk about how I got paid daily today, but it's a whole nother thing for your paycheck to go up because of what we did today. That makes sense? So in our business, that's what we're going to do in our first 30 days. And it starts with a series of uploads. So when you say start, share, and stay, start, share, and stay, start, share, and stay, where do we start? Start here in your membership website. As a matter of fact, I was going to show you slides, but is it okay if I show you my website? I'm checking.
Sure.
All right, let's see. Wait, where's my website? Oh, it's back here. Got a lot of things open right now. Hang on. This is the one I want. All right, so when it comes to the membership, the video I shared earlier, by the way, I got that from my website. So I went to the Diversified Cashflow account and I found a video about Diversified Cashflow account. When you get started in business, as a business owner, there will be two sides to your website. There'll be the business side, which says where you are in business. So when you're new, it'll say that you're new, welcome to MWR Financial. It'll give you a 30-day countdown clock to earn your star level bonus. Right now, this is my website. It says, I am currently, here's my name. Here's my website, by the way. If you ever forget where your website is, if you log in, your website's over here on your overview page. My upline is my sponsor, Charles Harden. Don't call him that. He won't answer you. He goes by Chuck. And right now, team is about 190 people, close to 200 people. And I am right now at ED star level 4, $100 a day, about 87%, 90% of the way to star level 2, which is, star level 5, which is $150 a day. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And in your membership system, they give you all of the tools of the trade for building a business. Now, there's not a lot that you'll need in our team that we don't provide and provide directions for. But in terms of presentations, the one-on-one, which gives a recap, by the way, once you get started, if you're you and I'm me, I recommend to everybody I sponsor to print out this one-page one-on-one. It's under our marketing tab for your business. Now, why do I recommend it? Well, for two reasons. It's so that you can learn the presentation. Everybody say, learn the presentation.
Learn the presentation.
Learn the presentation.
But also so that you have something to give people that say, I need to read something. This is an easy way for people to say, here, this sounds like exactly what Mr. Harden just said. We're going to help you create cash flow in 6 different ways. Most people don't get paid 6 different ways for anything, yes? It's going to help you increase cash flow by doing these 5 things. And it's going to help you multiply cash flow by doing these 5 things. Now, the one question I ask people is, how much money do we need to make together? Write this down, but put it in the chat for me too. How much money do we need to make together to make a difference for you? And whatever number they tell me, I build my game plan around their goals. Make sense? Now, once they tell me a number, I say, well, let's go find where that is in the comp plan. You know what's good about this comp plan? There are numbers in here, and it's usually somewhere on this side of the chart, William. So if they need to make an extra $2,000 or $3,000 a month, well, here's what we need to do. You need to get to $100 a day. Oh, you need to make $6,000 a month so that you can replace your annual pay at your job. Well, here's what we need to do. We need to get you to $200 a day. It means together, we need to build a team to 300, but it starts with your first 3. Whatever their number, I write it down and ask the next question of, how long are you willing to work to get to $30,000 a month, if that's your goal? Does that make sense? How long are you willing to work to get to that $30,000 a month? Because of course, whatever you've done in life up until now hasn't yielded $30,000 a month, but I know the record setter in this business using this business system got to $1,000 a day in 8 months. Everybody with me? So if it takes you 8 months, if it takes you a year, if it takes you 2 years, if it takes you 5 years to make $30,000 a month, part-time passively, will you give me 3 years to get your life back?
Let's get it.
Let's get it. Let's get it. So next thing is just understanding from the tools that you have in the website. Your next job is going to be to share the information with people as quickly as possible. By the way, there are other things in your website. You did get a commission report that shows how much you have been paid today. So when I tell people, this is the amount that I was paid for these days, by the way, at some point they stopped taking your membership fee off of your card and just take it off your running account balance. Isn't that cool?
Nice.
So 200. I paid 129 for the website right there. Make sense? And over time, you're able to understand where your business is. You got all the reporting tools so that you can focus on building yourself and building your team. Second part, in your membership site, there are two sides to the membership site. You have increasing your cash flow and multiplying your cash flow. Everyone, no matter where you think you are, please start with increasing your cash flow. And I know what somebody said, Rel.
Lastly,
Nobody sees you. Oh,
I know what they said, Rel. My credit score is straight, or I'll need a raise from my job, or I don't have a job. Brian B., #1 income earner in this business, said that the inventor of kibbles and bits never tasted the dog food.
Facts.
The reason that you use every part of the membership is to make sure you're familiar with the process so that when people ask you, did you do it? It's not for your testimony. Now, your testimony is going to come out of it anyway, and that will be awesome, but it's so that you know what the process is, so you'll know what they see. Does that make sense? Now, so that I have time for the other thing I want to teach tonight, I won't go into detail for each one of these, but for example, when you say reduce my taxes, there's nobody that doesn't want to reduce their taxes. Here's the challenge. Most people just don't know that they can. So say, for example, you want to do the instant pay raise. You click on instant pay raise, and then it's just a series of uploads. If you can upload a document to Facebook, you can upload the documents that need to go here. They're going to ask you 4 questions. They're going to ask you questions. Matter of fact, just so that you know, do you currently own a home-based business? Yes, that'll be yes once you start this business. How much is your internet bill? How much is your cell phone bill? And then, do you have any children between the ages? How many children between the ages of 7 and 17? Now, at this point in our life, we unfortunately have no children between the ages of 7 and 17, but they ask you that because there's a tax strategy for anybody but in those age groups where you can pay your children, get this, up to $1,000 per month, $12,000 a year, and they don't get taxed, and you get to write off their salary on your taxes.
That's fair.
I mean, where was this information when all 3 of these little, I'm sorry, beautiful, bold, brilliant children of mine were?
facts.
The more you know, the more you can share with other people what the results have been for you. But as you go through this process, here's what you do. Answer the questions, upload the documents, the agent will review them, and then they'll send you your W-4. Do it every year. Every year, you should be eligible for a W-4 adjustment. Does that make sense? And like I said, I'm not just a person telling you about a thing I heard about. I'm somebody that did the things that they said to do. Now, the second thing as a business owner that you need to do as soon as possible is install Hurdler. The directions, again, are on the website. Hurdler starts your automated expense tracking right away. And to get the tax deductions we talked about, put this in your notes. You can write off most things you want in your business, but you need accurate records and documentation of your business purpose. Hurdler puts it in the appropriate format. And it even tracks your mileage for you every time you get in the car. Make sense? So one of the biggest write-offs for most business owners, especially once you got a home business, I want you to understand, when you own a home business and you go out of the house in your car, that can become a tax deductible event no matter where you're going. Because everywhere that you go is people that need to know what you got. Like, I wasn't wearing this shirt, but I was at Best Buy the other day, Auntie Gwen, and I had on the old Power Builder shirt that said, ask me about a financial makeover. The Best Buy attendant asked me, well, what's a financial makeover? Man, funny you should ask. I don't have time to get into it right now, but I got a set of strategies I teach people to increase their pay from their jobs, pay off their debts, and invest in assets that make more money than them.
Awesome.
I'll text you some information, and I'll stop backing up your line. You'll meet them. But now that trip to Best Buy where I was going to go spend some money on something that I could write off because it's electronics and it's part of my office supplies, now also became the place where I met Reggie. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So like William has on one of those make money shirts. Friends don't let friends live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, big facts.
So wear your affirmation apparel because you are a walking, talking billboard. Understand, in network marketing, you're paid to do two things, to network and to market. What most people make the mistake of doing, hey, Patricia, most people make the mistake of thinking that this business is network selling. It ain't. Like there are direct selling businesses. Y'all, you know what I mean? Where in order to make some money, you got to sell something. In this business, you just got to make people aware that there's a possibility. Like it always used to be funny when somebody would have like one of those hand moisturizing businesses and they'll come start rubbing lotion on your hand. It's like, oh, that's weird. This business, we're creating awareness, educating people. And here's what I find out about me and most people that are like me. If you teach me something, I'm more interested in doing business with you. You don't have to sell me anything, but if you help me grow, I'm interested in you. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. So next, where were we?
Yes.
So make sure that you've got your Hurdler app and just start keeping track of how much money you spend. Because here's what's real. This is money you were spending anyway, but now you're creating phantom money. And whatsoever you do, if you owe anybody any money for anything, including your mortgage and your car, make sure that you get into this debt elimination system, because the two things that'll happen. First thing is this is where the biggest testimonies happen. Meaning, let me just define a word for you. You know what the word creditor is?
Just get out for a minute.
They are the people that borrow money. You know what their goal is? To be your creditor for as long as they can. Now, it's not just how much you owe, but how long you owe. And by this debt compression cycle, we do an automated debt snowball. And that's where you get results from people like me, where a lot of my debt is what they call good debt. It's a mortgage. It's student loans, which we're gonna have to debate on if student loans are good debt anymore. I don't know about those these days, William. The cars, all of those things, those debts, by dramatically reducing how long you owe, you also reduce how much you pay. That's $224,000 is coming back to us, because all I did was I took and entered all the bills that I owe money on into the debt elimination system and how I was paying, the interest rate, the balance, etc. Everybody got it? When it's done, it does a debt analysis for you. And the two parts of that debt analysis are, first, that comparison between what the creditors had planned for me, right? I was going to owe the same thing either way. But this is the sentence. When you're 50, you don't want to be paying anything 24 years from now.
Right.
Especially if you can be debt-free 6 years from now. And that'll save you $224,000. Make sense? Now, the other thing that system does for you, it makes you bulletproof when it's time for somebody to ask, is it working for you? Because now you have something they don't. It's a game plan to get out of debt and turn that debt into millions. Make sense?
Yes.
Same with credit. All of those are uploads. I went longer in that than I meant to. I apologize. Everybody okay right now? Anybody need a stretch break? Anybody need any questions? Like this part of your website, I'm saying click everything in your membership and upload what they ask for if you have, and if you don't have it, get it so you can upload it. Make sense?
Yes.
Next,
Yes.
this is, by the way, this is the game changer for real. It's our multiplying cash flow streams. Now, here's a reality. Rather than share my screen, let me look at you when I say this so that I can say it with love. Most people are somewhat constrained on how much money they have available to invest right now. Yes or yes?
Yes, most of the time.
I mean, that's my situation. If I had more, I would invest more. And early on in my life, and especially once we got married, the margins were so thin, I didn't have money available to invest. This is where getting your cash back and creating new cash flow come into play, because the money that I funded my PRA with was the money that I got back from my paycheck plus my MWR pay. That makes sense?
Yes.
Now, over time, I've been able to grow my MWR pay. Then my rental house started paying me more. So I had more cash to invest in these assets. And then, by the way, like a diversified cash flow account works, I'm able to get money from my diversified cash flow account to fund new investments. Like if you ever see me buy rims, check to see if I'm okay.
Okay.
Put this in your notes. Looking good. Looking good is the worst investment with the lowest rate of return. Somebody sees those rims and they say, wow, one time. And then you still got those rims and you could have invested that money in the company that makes the rims and had the dividends from the company pay for your toys. Are you with me? So I'm sorry. I'm not sorry about that. I'm very serious about that. If you see me buying just rims, check on your boy, make sure my blood levels are right. The main thing I want you to see in the multiply cash flow system, if you've not scheduled your appointment because you don't know if you have enough or if you're ready, make sure to learn about the individual systems. Does that make sense? So for example, diversified cash flow, I can produce a series of 6 videos where 3 of them focus on a strategy for turning your current debts into wealth, right?
I'm so fired up about that one.
This is the video that I showed earlier during our presentation about the investments. Yes. But here's the thing that I want to give everybody as a gift to you, because it was my gift to me, is what happens when you schedule your consultation. Because you got to understand, investment advice is personalized to your situation and your available assets. Does that make sense? Like I'm not, how do I describe? I'm middle of the road in terms of risk aversion. It'll ask you some basic questions about yourself. But the part I want you to see is this right here. It's the cash flow questionnaire that they ask when you're onboarding into wealth consultation. Now I'm going somewhere with this, so bear with me. They ask how much you got coming in and how much you got going out. Here's a challenge for most Americans. They don't know. They actually don't know how much is coming in. They know all of it is going out. And what they don't know is how much is going out to whom. They'll ask you about your savings in your bank and especially your emergency funds. Like they don't really want to know what you got in checking, but there's something that we teach in our movement that your stress level is directly related to the amount of money in your emergency fund. And when you start the investment process, people say, well, Richard, I want to get into real estate. I want to do diversified cash flow. I said, wait, what do you have ready in case an emergency happens? Now put this in your notes because I'll teach it again, but I want people to start thinking along these lines as you start to get healthy financially. Level 1, you need the mini emergency fund. Level 1, mini emergency fund. And I'm saying M-I-N-I, mini emergency fund is between $1,000 and $3,000 that you can put your hands on today just in case something happens. Does that make sense? Because here's what I found in my life. A lot of my debts were situational emergencies, right? We blew a tire and found out that the other one was about to pop. They were calling it a may pop. Anybody ever have a may pop tire? It may pop tomorrow after you get this one tire fixed today. We needed 2 tires. But we didn't have the $500 cash on hand because we weren't getting paid yet. So we put that would end up on a credit card. Does that make sense? Air conditioner goes out, hot water heater goes out. $1,000 to $3,000 will cover most minor emergencies. That make sense? Now, why are you saying this when you're talking about wealth accumulation? If you don't have a mini emergency fund, you only got 2 choices when stuff happens. Man, I'm a cursor apparently. Valerie, don't tell my mama. $1,000 to $3,000 should cover those minor emergencies. But if you don't have it and you're investing, you either got to cash in your investment and stop that money from working, or you got to go into debt to borrow it from somebody else. And in most cases, if it's a true investment, the time that you need the money is more likely to be on the borrow side. Am I making sense? I want you to grow in this financially. Second
Yes.
emergency fund is your true emergency fund. You need in a cash equivalent, a bank, 3 to 6 months of your income if you work for someone. Does that make sense? The pandemic had proved to everybody that jobs are not guaranteed. Yes. So just in case your income stops suddenly, you're in a position where you don't have to do what I did. And let me be transparent. 2016, I lost a job unexpectedly, and I had an 8-month job search.
Hmm.
And during that 8 months, the available cash was in my 401k. I don't know if any of you have had to tap into your 401k before your due season. They taxed me like that was not the money I had been saving my whole life. But if I had had an emergency fund, at least the first part of that, I could have weathered the storm better. So I'm telling you from experience, make sure that you have cash reserves so that you're structured to invest without having to sacrifice your investment. Does that help?
Facts. Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you about is
Yes.
retirement. So what kind of 401ks, IRAs, current monthly contract, what do you have? What are you putting in? And does your employer match? People think that I'm anti 401k. I'm not. Matter of fact, if your employer matches, that's already a 100% return on that part of your investment. Does that make sense? I'll talk about it. It'll be in a reel somewhere. But they'll ask all of these things: your retirement, how much cash you have in insurance, what do you owe, and who do you owe it to? And then what do you think you have available for investment, both on a per month basis, or do you have a windfall? Do you have a lump sum? Did you have an insurance policy? Did you win the lottery? Did you hit the number? Whatever. I'm sorry. Some of y'all know the number. Because again, an investment starts with some money, and then do you own or rent your home? Do you own or lease your car? Right? Again, because there are ways to transmute debt into wealth, those are things that they'll want to know. Now, here's the thing. If I asked you, do you have all that ready to that form? What's the answer to that question? Okay, in full transparency, for me, the answer was no. I had a rough idea of what I had and what I didn't have. And that took me back to my my game of cash flow. So I'll teach cash flow and then I'm done. I'll leave room for questions. Is that okay? Oh, Ray had a question for me earlier. So Ray, don't remind me. You asked about event promotions, promoting for the business in big events. Like Ray is a promoter. He's got some parties coming up. He's doing Battle of the Band and it's some kind of talent show, those kind of things. Hold on for that after this part. Last part is when it comes to cash flow, you cannot improve a number that you don't track.
Facts.
If you want to lose weight, you got to know how much you weigh. Does that make sense? And then once you know how much you weigh, you have to change what you eat, how you move your body, how much water you drink, and how much you sleep in order for your body to change. The same thing is true for our money. You cannot improve your cash flow if you don't know what it is. Does that make sense? So in the game cash flow, now, by the way, Tia, are you the only one? Has everybody else played the game of cash flow? I know Tia has played. Have you not heard of it? Let me make sure I'm talking to the right people. Who's heard of the game cash flow? Show of hands. Who's not heard of the game cash flow, never heard of it, never played, don't know why I'm excited to introduce a game in our training? Okay. In the game of cash flow, Robert Kiyosaki introduces it as a way to train the habits for increasing cash flow and getting out of the rat race. In the game of cash flow, the board looks kind of like a Monopoly board, right? It goes around in one big circle and everybody's in that same one big circle. It's called the rat race. Now, in the rat race, you'll have a job. With that job, you get paid a certain amount of money. So you might be a janitor making $40,000 a year, or you might be an attorney making $200,000 a year. And based on that salary, expenses occur in your life. Every time you roll the dice, things happen on the board. You get introduced to opportunities. Things change in the market. Oh, there it is. Tia has. Let me put you on spotlight, Tia. Tia, hang on. That's the game. So, Cashflow by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, at this point, it's probably one of the more expensive board games in the world, because I think I saw where you could get a game for like $200 now. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think it's something like that. They have a kids version as well called Cashflow Quadrant. You could do for your kids.
And it's important, actually, especially if you have kids around, we got to teach our babies money more now, because money looks the same to them. Like somebody pointed this out to me the other day, Tia, that when it comes to money, when we were growing up, we got paid cash.
This is probably better. I'm on blur. Sorry. Can you see better now?
Yep, that's better. That's better.
Hey, I got mine for $80 on Amazon probably a couple of months ago, I think.
Got one for 80. So here's the thing about what I'm saying is, once I understood the game, I started playing the game with my cash flow in real life. Does that make sense? And I developed a spreadsheet. Now, here's the thing. In the spreadsheet, you just put the numbers in, because the goal of the game is to get out of the rat race. So if you think about it from a financial literacy point of view, these are the money terms we need to master, right? You got income. Everybody know what income is? Is money that comes in, right? You got expenses. What are expenses? Is money that goes out. And then your monthly cash flow is the difference between your total income and your total expenses. Everybody tracking so far? You with me? The goal of the game, the way that you get out of the rat race in the cash flow game and in real life, is when you get to where your passive income is higher than your total expenses. Then you're free. Does that make sense? Now, during the course of the game and during the course of our lives, we have the opportunity to acquire assets and liabilities. Making sense? Assets and liabilities. What are assets? Well, assets are things that put money in your pocket. Put that in your notes. Assets are things that put money in your pocket. What is an asset? This business is an asset, especially if you factor it and make it put money in your pocket. That makes sense? A rental property is an asset. Stocks that pay dividends, those are assets, right? Now, caution, your bank will tell you that your house is an asset. Robert Kiyosaki says your house is not an asset. I kind of agree. Because the flow of money from my house is everything that happens at my house comes out of my pocket, not into my pocket. Until I turn it into an Airbnb. That's And then liabilities are what you owe for any of the assets you have or any of the things that you have. Okay, so I went on about a 3-year break where I wasn't tracking my cash flow or my net worth. Tia, you know, we hit 950 last month.
Wow, that's awesome.
The thing about assets is they grow while you're not paying attention. Does that make sense? But now that I'm intentional, because you know what's also true? We also racked up about $250,000 debts in the last 10 years trying to borrow too much money to put people through college. That's not awesome. Don't do that. But what I've done in this spreadsheet is just put in the formulas for you to be able to put your own numbers in, where in this example, you put into your financial statement, this is how much I make for my job. This is what my passive income is from my real estate or my businesses. It might be 0 when you start. That's fine. Is that okay? And then total up your expenses. It was surprising to me to see how much Nikki and I were paying in taxes out of our paycheck, right? Housing, mortgage, utilities, etc. It'll do the math to total those things up once you put them in. Like I did do enough work for you, so you don't have to figure it out. You just got to plug in your own numbers. And then if you don't have assets yet, just start thinking about those categories so that you can track your cash flow. Make sense? We're going to play the game of cash flow at my house this week, because this is the weekend. Like, I got 2 conferences in a row. So I'm speaking 2 weeks in a row. So anybody in Atlanta that wants to come to the house,
Okay.
we're playing cash flow at the house.
Because I was about to say you need to send a jet.
Now, I'm not saying
send
fly
a
to
jet.
Atlanta. You got to already be close by.
What time is it?
So I'm thinking Saturday around 7 is good for me. I know I got to work out from 2 to 5, 2 to 4:30. Okay, I ain't gonna be clean till 5. So 7.
Okay,
Sound
I'm
like
gonna
the
try and
time.
make it because I'll probably be here.
But it'll help
At
you
work.
understand both yourself, your emotions, and your business better, and train us to look for opportunities when they show up in the market and in our lives. Does that make sense? So I'll share this
Yeah.
spreadsheet. I guess I can share it in the chat as a file. Or how many of you are on your phones or on a computer? If you're on a computer, you can download it from here because I can just drop it in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
And then I will also post it to the group so that we are as a unit. Think about this. This is something that Ray or Manuel, if you've been in a business before, all of those other businesses were about increasing the size of their sales force and the amount of product that got distributed. Does that make sense? This business, so why we're different, why this ain't that, is our commitment is to help you increase your cash flow and your net worth by understanding it, having experts, and doing different things. Does that make sense? All right, I will pause for questions while I get this uploaded. Any questions about the process, or who's excited about just having some tools in place to be able to track and increase their net worth, their cash flow, and their ability to create those things?
And
Yes, I'm excited. Yes.
I'm
I
super
won't be
excited.
able to attend Saturday, but if you plug in, I'll be on it, Mr. Richard Harden.
Excellent, excellent. Let's see. Wait, which one
Is
is it?
this a game that kids can play as well?
There is a game that, depending on what age kids are they? They got to be able to add
1
and
to
subtract.
14.
How old?
They're all able to add and subtract.
Okay. I used to play this with my kids. That way, when they would, it'll also help with your saying no as a parent when they out trying to get you to McDonald's, because it's like, oh, we trying to buy doodads now? Doodads are the things that you don't want to land on in the game. It's like, you just got paid, you just got your paycheck, and then you roll the dice again, and then you bought a boat for $17,000. Ain't no stupid. I mean, ain't no boat.
No.
But I mean, but it'll actually help. Like, you got to think about it. If we're going to do a better job with financial education, cash, asset, cash flow. Yep, there it is. Cash, asset, cash flow, rich dad, poor dad edition. That's what I called it. Sorry about that. Oops.
Okay.
Oops, I clicked the wrong button. It was getting ready to give me a screenshot. That would have been cool to have, but that's not what I was trying to give you guys. All right. I just wanted to make sure not to send you my personal number, so I have to hire extra security. Oh, it says currently in use because I'm opening it. Let me close it so that it can send it.
All right,
All
perfect.
right, save. Any questions about it? All right, and
I'm
reminder,
listening.
Brian is not training tonight, so I think you all are done for the evening. Oh, that's right. I said to Ray. Ray is going to big events, right? Ray is going to big events. He's a party promoter. He promotes events. Yes. And he said, I'm gonna have a mic a lot of the time. Does that make sense? Now,
Yes.
from my point of view, and this is something that I tell everybody, this is a home-based business, but it's not a stay-at-home business. Some of the best people that will join your business, you have not met yet. Make sense? So when
Yes.
you go to an event, especially if you're speaking from a position of strength, I'm the keynote speaker for the Toastmasters Conference next week in Georgia. Yes. Is to collect. Everybody say collect. My job at some other event is to collect prospects. It's called prospect. Everybody, if you're
Collect.
taking notes, prospecting.
Collect.
Prospect is what I want you to have as a word. Prospecting. Now, prospecting for most people is different than what they think it is. Prospecting is just collecting information to sort out who the people you want to interact with. Does that make sense? I really don't want you to be that dude. Who is that dude? It's the dude that you're hiding from at the grocery store, ducking behind the sweet peas, because every time you see him, he like, hey, you want to make some money? You want some cash flow? You want to diversify cash flow account? You want a private reserve account? You want to bring a land with me? No, you can't do that.
Richard, like that dude that opened up his jacket and he got like 12 things on this side and 12 things on that side.
Don't be that dude. Don't be that dude. Because here's what happens. If you think about what you visualize when you just heard that dude, what do you want to do with that dude?
Get away.
Nothing.
You want to run. You don't want to be around him. So as you're out and about, so whether you're going to a network, especially if you're speaking as an expert, ask people what they need help with. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Ask questions. What are great questions to ask in a networking event? In Atlanta, best question for a networking event, where are you from? I'm doing a conference of Toastmasters. What most people don't know is most Toastmasters don't know each other. What club is yours? How long have you been involved? What did you come to Toastmasters to do? Really? Man, listen, I love your energy. I'm excited about the conversation we're having. I think there's some synergy for us to collaborate on some things. I'm looking to build a team of the best speakers and communicators to lead a movement. Would you like to get paid for the things that you've been paying to do at Toastmasters? We don't have time to get into it right now. Let me text you. And then we'll follow up after the conference. Cool? What are the questions? Where are you? How'd you get here? Who invited you? The more, this is what people don't, when it comes to piquing interest, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And what do they care about? Not your business, not MWR. They care about themselves. They care about whatever kids they start telling you about when you ask how the family is. They care about what's happening or not happening with the job, but you got to collect enough information about them to have a meaningful conversation after the event is over. Don't be that dude trying to run after somebody on the dance floor saying, we here to dance. I just came here to dance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and one of the things Dale Carnegie said, if you want to get people to like you, get them talking about themselves.
Get them talking about themselves. And then the last point, and this is something, actually, I think Rel is actually a really good example of this. What y'all might not know about Rel is before MWR, he had other things he did. One of them was he was promoting artists. Does that make sense? In Nashville. So, here's a party promoter's philosophy. They'll print and hand out 2,000 flyers for a party. They will have booked. Now, here's the thing. 2,000 flyers, just to let everybody know there's a party. Hoping that 1/4, 500 of those flyers end up in people's hands that are interested in coming to the party. They will have booked a room that can only serve 250 people. So that when people get to the party, oh, it was off the chain. The line was wrapped around the door.
Facts.
Promotion is just creating awareness, and the people that are interested will come. Make sense? And I wish, Rel's off screen right now, but I remember Rel's grand opening, he invited, like he was invited to a party. He works on Sunday.
Hey.
Yes, he did.
His grand opening was on Monday at 6 p.m. my time, 5 p.m. his time, but there were 30 people on his grand opening Zoom. 3 of them got started that week. He got promoted in 5 days. So first thing, as you're out at big events, prospect, ask questions. When you're on the stage, hey, listen, we're in the middle of Financial Literacy Month. So I would be remiss if I got on the stage in front of all these beautiful people and did not let you know that counting on your formal education or your education that happened a century ago is hazardous to your will. We need new strategies, new game plans, and new money. You know, anybody that wants to get on top with this financial game, make sure that they come see me, text me, send me.
Love it.
Does that make sense? And if you got the mic, Ray, that's what I would say if I were you. We can talk about strategies for both of the parties. Does that help? Like there's nothing you can
For
say.
this one,
There's nothing you can say to somebody at a dance party that they're gonna get in business with you at the dance party. They will decide if they like you or if they want to run from you at the dance party.
so this will work for, say, because my daughter, I've been getting her into networking events for selling her bracelets, and she has been selling her bracelets on her own. But some of the people at these events are, I think would be interested in this too. So this would work for them as well.
Oh, absolutely. Any place that you go where there are people, this is what you'll be able to think about in your own mind. Any place where you go that there are people, there's something that you have in common anyway. Children are an easy place. Children's events or events that you're going to with your children are an easy place to network about the importance of having a business, right? Being good with your money. And shouldn't we lead by example by having our own business so our children see us doing business?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I mean,
Makes
to be,
sense.
and let me even be one more step closer, and then I'm gonna leave. I was recruited into network marketing by somebody that was prospecting at the football field.
Nice.
Like Sean Hill had a whole philosophy. He didn't even have a business at the time. Like we found out about 5 Links during the time that we were coaching football, but he had a process for picking athletes. We drafted for 3 things: speed. You ready? Speed is first because speed kills. You can't replace speed. What do you think is second on our recruiting list for football players?
Strength? No.
Interesting. Strength is in the list. Strength is third.
Integrity.
What's that?
Integrity.
Well, but we were coaching 7 to 10s.
Endurance.
No, I was looking for speed and focus. Who was paying attention?
Focus.
Oh, okay.
Your focus.
Speed and focus. Aggression was third. Strength was 5th. Who came with 2 parents was 4th.
I'm good.
Okay.
How are you?
Why? Because they were going to make it to practice. They were more likely to make it to practice because if one parent couldn't make it, the other one could. And if they come to practice, they're fast, they're focused, and they're aggressive. In Little League football, you can only be so strong.
Yeah, facts.
So it's just a system of understanding and collecting information over time. All right, I'm done. I'll leave room for questions. Any questions? Questions. I don't want to keep y'all all night, but I do want to make sure I give you, did I give you value? Does this help?
Yes.
Absolutely, man.
And let's
Great
make sure
job,
for this
man.
next,
Absolutely.
make sure, because the best thing about this business, you can increase your cash flow significantly in 1 month. That makes sense. There's a lot of things like I look at it and say over time, my salary went up a lot. My portfolio income is better. But this business didn't exist 3 years ago. And now is one of the best cash flow engines in our portfolio. Cool.
It's amazing.
All right, I'm gonna stop nerding out on y'all. I'm gonna go downstairs and hold a grandbaby, walk a dog or something. All right. So
Awesome
same
training.
Thank you.
same time. Oh, by the way, Chuck is presenting again tomorrow. If anybody needs a new exposure, my brother, who is my sponsor, is presenting on tomorrow. And then for those of you in Atlanta, text me so I know how many people to order food for. But you got to
Thank you
limit
so
your tasty
much.
beverages the first time because you miss out on plays. You'd be like, oh, you should have bought this. You should have
And
bought
a,
this.
and a tasty beverage and right off too.
Tasty beverages are right off if they're at a cash flow party that's business related, which now, haha.
It
It's
is
a
right
wrap.
now.
With the time.
Yes.
And it's Chuck Thursday at 8 or 7 tomorrow, Gwen. Do you know?
8 p.m.
He's at 8
8
p.m.
o'clock
Eastern time
p.m.
tomorrow. Followed by
7
Nancy.
Central.
7 Central.
Yep. All right. Good night, everybody. Oh, and I think Rel and I were going to do money lunch Friday at noon Eastern, 11 Central.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
Money
okay.
lunch, 12
Um,
Eastern.
Is that a
11
private affair or can I slide up in there?
especially if you bring somebody that want to eat.
Ooh,
Right.
they gotta be hungry. Okay, got you.
All right. Bye.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so
Awesome,
much.
All right.
awesome.
Thanks,
Thank
Richard.
you.